Over the years, there have been so many lies about growing a YouTube channel that even I myself have fallen prey to. And instead of helping grow on YouTube, they were actually killing my small channel. But it's not just me. Unfortunately, these very same lies have set up so many YouTube channels for utter failure, and there's two key reasons this happens. Number one is that there have been so many facts and tips spread all across YouTube that don't actually work for small channels. They wrongly assume that the strategies that clearly work for larger channels can be applied to anybody's channel, which is clearly not the case. And number two is that a lot of this advice completely ignores how the YouTube algorithm may change over time. It could be content type, audience behavior, or just platform updates, to name a few reasons why this might happen. Tactics that were gaining traction for channels years ago may just not be relevant anymore. So today I want to expose three of the biggest lies that I personally believe are absolutely killing small channels. And instead of just stopping there, I also want to counter those lies with some truths, strategies you can use to actually grow on YouTube and get the attention that you've been trying to get when it comes to the YouTube algorithm. Let's start with the lie that you've probably heard the most, even from us on this channel, and that is that you should just focus on one hyper-specific niche and do that basically forever or until you start to gain some traction. And then hopefully you can kind of branch out from there, which logically makes sense, right? By catering to a specific audience, your channel will probably grow due to its more targeted appeal. But what if I told you just doing that one thing might be holding you back more than helping? First, there's the obvious issue of the limited audience size. By focusing too narrowly, you restrict your content to a very specific audience, and you lower your total addressable market. In a best case scenario, let's say that you do a fantastic job and you get every single person in that category to watch you and you become the authority. The problem is that your growth becomes severely capped because how popular is this topic really? How big of an audience could it possibly have? And the second issue tends to come in with the actual pivot point of your channel. This is more difficult than a lot of creators think because your interests may no longer align with your audience's interest if you pivot too far away from what you're already doing. So how do you grow on YouTube while also avoiding boxing yourself into one tiny little corner of it? If that's your goal, then the answer is to strategically diversify your content from the get-go. Let's use a method that I'm going to call creator audience balance strategy. This is a strategy used by a creator we've spoken to in the past named Josh Strife Hayes, and he's completely nailed this. He creates content that not only serves a very wide audience, but it caters specifically to his personal interests. You see, Josh became really well known, reviewing and highlighting what he calls the worst MMOs ever. This ongoing series has completely solved his first issue of having a very limited, narrow appeal. Josh does not zoom into one specific MMO game for his entire channel. He actually plays games a lot of people may not have ever heard of. This means the overall cap to his maximum viewership is quite high because new MMOs are coming out all the time, so potentially for years and years to come, he's always going to have something he can talk about. It also gives him an opportunity to explore games he would have never played otherwise. What really sets Josh apart, though, from so many other creators that I've talked to, is that he realized early on in his YouTube journey that his interests, just as a person, are going to evolve and change over time. His content strategy allows for personal growth and his personal interests to reign supreme. And you might be thinking, well, okay, but what if he stops being interested in MMO games? Well, Josh has already solved that by creating other channels that serve other purposes. One of those channels is called Josh Strife Says, which is actually clips from his Twitch streams where he is playing a game, but he's speaking to a lot of different varied topics. This channel has been massively successful for him, and he's no longer pigeonholed into just doing specifically gaming content, and that's it. He gets to speak freely and share his thoughts and opinions and interests with a much wider audience now, whether or not you enjoy the game that's playing in the background. So if you want to see your channel get to like 1,000 subscribers relatively quickly, then you need to establish a really good creator audience balance. You should take your time when planning the direction of your channel. Adopt a flexible content strategy that not only caters to a specific audience, but also speaks to your passions as a person. Now, this next lie is a real wake-up call because the truth seems glaringly obvious, and yet here we all are still believing this nonsense. The talking point is basically that YouTube's algorithm treats everybody equally. Everyone has the same chance to succeed as somebody else. This gets preached constantly, especially to newer YouTubers. It suggests that if you're just following the best practices, then it will lead to inevitable growth. However, the harsh reality here is that it's never actually that straightforward, as you've probably learned yourself at one point. I find it so frustrating that people say things like, you have the same exact opportunity as Mr. Beast. I challenge you to start a new account right now. In fact, go to YouTube in incognito mode. Don't even log in. One of the first faces you will see is his. And if you stop right there, That doesn't really feel like equal opportunity, does it? The truth is just a lot more complicated than I would like it to be. You've probably noticed on your channel that you see these peaks and valleys when it comes to the graphs when you upload videos. A new video might get a burst of impressions when you first put it out there, and then eventually it falls flat. YouTube tests it for a bit, and once interest dies off, then it stops promoting it. Compare that though to the larger channels in your niche. What do their videos look like? They tend to get posted, and then it seems like they get views and impressions for a long time to come. So why this difference in treatment? Why does it seem like the algorithm prioritizes larger channels and gives the newer creators kind of just the scraps? Well, we need to look at this from YouTube's perspective, right? Because with so many creators on the platform and new ones joining every day, and the same amount of real estate on the YouTube home feed, there's only so much to go around. At the end of the day, YouTube's biggest goal is to keep people on platform for as long as possible. So the cold hard truth is that channels who have built up a reputation over time and have basically that more guaranteed chance for success are the ones that are going to get priority on the home feed most of the time. They simply have a better and proven track record of keeping people on the website. They've been around for a while, and because of that, a new person coming onto the website is really likely to binge watch their content because YouTube already has data saying as much. So all of that sounds pretty hopeless, but look, don't get discouraged. There are actually some strategies that you can use over the long term that could hopefully get you more into this category of a creator that is trusted by the algorithm. If we understand that YouTube's favoritism is coming from things like viewer engagement, watch time, and watch sessions, then we can optimize for that on your channel. So first, if you regularly upload content, this is going to give YouTube more to work with. If those videos tend to cater to a specific audience, then that helps to make sure that the next time you post, the people who watched the first video will get recommended the next video. And even if these videos aren't getting a lot of impressions at first, I want you to remember that every time you post, it's another opportunity to get impressions for not only that new video, but your old stuff too. If even one of these videos takes off, then YouTube is going to say, hey, this person watched this entire video all the way through. Maybe they want to see an older video that they have. And this can create a snowball effect because now YouTube is recommending your older content to this person and they have data on them, that viewer. So now they're like, I know more people like this. And suddenly your videos, new and old, are starting to get pushed to the specific audience that the YouTube algorithm has finally identified for your content. I won't sugarcoat this though. This is going to take work because sometimes you can do everything right and it still takes an incredible amount of work to finally break through. You have to be so persistent. It's sort of like the lottery. You can't win if you don't play, but the lottery is not a great analogy because it causes you to kind of blame forces you can't control, right? In this case, the algorithm. I get it, but even if you still want to direct your anger at YouTube's algorithm because it's cathartic for you, I urge you not to go there. By focusing on this mythical beast of the YouTube algorithm, it's putting you in a negative headspace, and that makes it really, really hard to create content in the first place. But anyway, on to the third lie. In the pursuit of more views, a lot of people fall into this trap too. Something I see from time to time is this common piece of advice that any exposure is good exposure. I think that's like an old marketing adage or something, but it's something that people try to apply to YouTube, and please don't do this. Putting this concept to practice is why so many channels aren't being picked up by the algorithm. In the context of YouTube, it's the idea that you need to get a viral video or you have to go out and do the legwork to promote your content yourself wherever you can post it on the internet. The prevailing idea is that the more your video is seen, regardless of context, regardless of audience, the more chance it has to get picked up and shoved into a lot of people's feeds. However, this extremely dangerous of the oversimplification of exposure gets so many channels into hot water. Simply getting views for the sake of views isn't always beneficial. If the exposure your channel receives doesn't say necessarily align with your brand identity or it comes from controversial sources, then you're very likely to end up getting way more negativity than actually like good views from engaged viewers. Lots and lots of views just don't have value if no one's watching all the way through. And if you're thinking, well, hey, a lot of views could be good for monetization, I'm gonna rain on that parade as well. It's a common misconception that views are directly tied to earnings on YouTube. In reality, YouTube ad revenue is actually influenced by a lot of factors, such as engagement, the type of ad itself, whether people skip or not. More views does not mean more money, especially if people aren't really engaging with the ad. Or if you have an 8-minute video with mid-rolls and no one's getting to the mid-rolls, then yes, obviously those views didn't do a whole lot for you because people left way too early. So in that case, what should you be focused on instead? Well, it depends on your goals, but it really helps to zoom in on metrics that indicate your channel's overall health. Consider the value behind engagement. Likes, comments, shares. Or as we've talked about, watch time, which is critical for YouTube understanding that, hey, people are watching this video for a really long time, or sometimes multiple times. Does watching your content prompt a binge session where people are watching many of your videos in a row? If you understand that views, or any metric on YouTube, is just part of a larger picture, then you can start to properly strategize your content. You want your audience to engage with you, and even a smaller, more engaged audience is far more valuable than a bunch of views on a video that you may have gotten through the YouTube promotion tool or something like that. Now that you understand that there's a whole bunch of advice on YouTube that does not in fact help you grow, the good news is that we have a framework that can absolutely blow up your small channel if executed on correctly. Enjoy.